But you took everyone through this.
Yeah.
Were people shocked? Were they like, I had no idea what was going on? Because I feel like we've been discussing this on Bitcoin Twitter and amongst friends and on podcasts for, I feel like it's almost like Caitlin Long and Travis Kling were talking to us about this like 2.5 years ago, and then we've spoken about it, and we've seen people talking about it on Twitter, but we're fully aware of what is happening right now. My friends just think, we're just in a slightly difficult economic period.
Yeah,
there's a bit of inflation. We'll be fine in a year. They've got no idea this complete unwind collapse could be coming.
Reality doesn't care what your opinion is.
Yeah, I know.
It does not care whether you've got a strong opinion, because it's just going to do what it does. It's just math and physics, and it's just going to work itself out until it. I would explain it like, you go and you pour toxic sludge into a pond, and nature is going to try to figure out a way to deal with it. And it might end up being some weird colored red bacteria that then grows out of that and somehow filters it and removes it from the pond. And I would describe Bitcoin as kind of being that thing that's emerging out of the ether that is dealing with the toxic sludge that's there and getting worse. And I just, for me, it's going to deal with it, and it's going to deal with it in a way that actually benefit some actors, probably a smaller number of people that are the first movers. And then the people in the middle are actually going to see relief through this on a long enough time scale. They'll look back at the end of their life and they'll be like, that was really beneficial that happened, because I ended up having a better life. And then the people who are really just, and a lot of these people are the ones who hold a majority of the buying. It's the guy winning the game right now, right? He doesn't want this new system to come along, because in that reset, relatively speaking, he's not as powerful as he was when he was, at that point in the game. And so they're the ones that are going to pay most of the bill. They're still going to be in a very good position to do whatever they want in their life, most likely, but they're probably going to be the ones that are fighting it the most. They're going to be the late adopters, and they're going to be the ones who in the end are going to look back and be like, man, I shouldn't have been fighting it. I should have been assisting it and trying to help.
Probably have to sell off some of their assets.
They're going to have to say, and that's it. I have it pinned right now. But that's what my quote that I have pinned on my profile is. Danny, I don't know if you can bring that up quickly, but you can read the quote. That's what my quote is all about, is once you get far enough on the other side of this, how a lot of this Bitcoin is going to really distribute itself. Like the actual Bitcoin units are going to distribute themselves throughout the world, is going to be people like me are then going to start buying equity. And who am I going to buy it from? I'm going to be buying it from the person who has to sell their equity, because they've got to have some of this in their portfolio, and they've got to make that transition. So,
yeah, dear stock and bond holders, I don't think you appreciate the discount rate that my Bitcoin deserves. I have no intention of trading it for profit, producing equity until existing multiples are drastically lower than what you get with this worthless fiat. There are many like me. We're coming for you.
That goes back to the equation, the real generic discount cash flow equation that we were talking about earlier. So like discount rates in equities today is like a multiple of 30. That's crazy. Like, so I'm not paying that.
So is what you're really saying here? There's a swing to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The people who've been accumulating Bitcoin. Not everyone. We have our sailors, but there's a lot of plebs, a lot of normies. If we then have this swing to Bitcoin out of fiat, someone like myself suddenly swings to being one of the people with more capital, and as people require that capital, I get to take some of their assets off them.
That's right.
So this is like a rebalancing.
Absolutely.
That is beautiful.
It is beautiful. And so, if you're the guy winning the game right now and you're holding just tank loads of equity, you're going to have to sell it eventually. And I hate to tell you, you're not going to be selling it at multiples of 30 or 35. You're probably going to be selling it at multiples of 10 or 5. Or I have a feeling that the swing, when it eventually goes, the multiples in equity are going to be very juicy. And at that point, it makes way more sense for me to own equity than own Bitcoin, because those companies are going to be dealing in Bitcoin. They're going to be making Bitcoin, right? And so then I want to own the equity because, at a PE of 5, it's making 20% a year in Bitcoin. And I'd rather own that than just owning Bitcoin.
And the new game has been reset without any ability to manipulate it.
And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. There's nobody controlling a ledger. There's nobody saying, oh, we'll settle in 30 days when the gold arrives. No, here's my public address. Send it right now. I can see it pending in the mempool, and I know that it's coming. And then when it clears, then we can exchange whatever good it is. And like, how in the world do you defeat that? You don't. All you can do is participate in that system, because it doesn't require any trust. It clearly works. It's just code. It's fully auditable. Every time I accept it, it's like me running the gold through the machine and flattening it out. And actually, every single time. Yeah. That's why I run a node.
Man, I tell you, it's lucky we have Bitcoin, because
thank God we got Bitcoin.
Weird shit going on now.
I can only imagine how weird this would get if we didn't have Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's people perhaps within the US government who kind of recognize this and recognize the advantageous position the US has, in that it has the majority of the Bitcoin companies and probably a disproportionate higher share of Bitcoin? Do you think there's anyone who's like making those calculations?
I don't know. I would think, just based on how many people are in the world, I think there's people out there that are seeing some of this. I don't know that they fully wrapped their head around how big it really is, but there has to be people out there. I mean, the Ross Stevens of the world, like people like that, there are billionaires out there that are accumulating this. And from their vantage point, they don't have to be really right about this. Like if a person has a portfolio of $1 billion plus, they've just got to have a 1% position at today's price, where it's at in the adoption curve. I think 1 to 5% position in this, and they're fully protected with their buying power on the other side. So when you get to that level, they're playing a lot of defense. As they get more confidence in their position, hey, maybe they bump it up to 10%, right? If you had 10% today and you were a billionaire, you're going to be 10 times richer on the other side of this than you were before it even happened.
The asymmetric opportunity.
That's how asymmetrical this is at this point in time. Now, if the price went to $500,000 of Bitcoin, now all of a sudden they have to have a 10% position to protect them if this is playing out like we just described.
Oh, so we go from a position where they should, to where they have to.
And the further you go down the path, the more it's going to be, all right, I have to have this much of a position, yes, to protect myself from just, I mean, they don't have to. If they don't mind losing some of their net worth and their buying power, well, then they can have a smaller position. But I think it's gonna start evolving to that. But what's going to be weird for people is they're going to look at the price of 500,000, and then they're going to really be saying, "Oh, I can't afford that." Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I mean, I first bought Bitcoin when it was £80. I didn't hodl any of it back then, and I've bought Bitcoin at all different prices. Never once have I ever bought Bitcoin and thought, that's cheap today.
Yeah, never.
Even now, if Bitcoin dipped to 20K, I'd be straight in buying, and I'd still be thinking, fucking hell, that's a lot of money for some ones and zeros.
Yeah,
like it's that weird thing where it just never feels cheap.
Yeah.
But you have to have it.
Hey, I said something earlier that I want to clarify for people. I said I'm stacking cash since like the start of the year. I have not sold one Bitcoin, right? This is with my free cash flows.
Yeah.
And people have to understand that. So like when I look at capital allocation, when I find something that I really like and I start amassing it, I'm buying it. I'm not selling it. I'm not realizing capital gains and playing all that, because I don't know. This is the hard part. I don't know when the Fed's going to reverse course and say, enough's enough. We're back in debasing mode. That could happen tomorrow.
Well, we talked about this.
It could happen in a year.
Yeah, knowing tops and bottoms is hard, and you've also got to account for 20% of the capital gains within that as well. And then it's like, well, where's the bottom? It's like it's a tight range to play in when
Yeah.
when you know this is a decade play.
Yeah.
I just keep stacking.
I just know right now fiat is bidding.
Yeah.
As much as that sounds strange for people, especially after all the charts we just showed, it's bidding. It's probably going to bid for a short window. At the longest, I would say a year, that it could bid without something really breaking. And while it's doing that, I'm just stacking fiat because that's the thing that's outperforming. And once I feel like they've totally reversed course, I just take that clump of, stacking of fiat that I've got and I just drop it right on top of the pile of Bitcoin that's there. And then it's just whatever my free cash flows are each month, it's just going straight into Bitcoin during that period of time.
Did you hear him say pile? Okay. Wow. Mixed feelings. Mildly scared and quite optimistic.
I don't think there's. I don't want to say anything that ever scared.
My fear is more. It's not on a personal level. My fear
Yeah.
is more civil unrest, societal collapse, what it means to people. That's the stuff that I worry about and just naturally do.
We need people in this space who have been in this space for a while that have the financial means to just have deep empathy for the collective that are going through. They've been playing a game that has been extremely unfair.
It's been rigged.
It's been rigged. And the education system is not there to inform people as to these things that we were talking about. And so most people are performing productive value to society, but they're performing it in this system that has just totally sheltered them from being able to access and understand. And everybody's got to take self-responsibility. Like I really want to push this idea of extreme ownership. The Jacko book, right? Like that's one of the core things from my military background that like anything that happens bad in my life, I immediately point to myself. I'm like, all right, what can you do different? Or what did you do to bring that upon yourself? But what I would say is we are about to go through just change that I don't think people can comprehend. And if you have the financial means and you have the ability to just harness that deep empathy that I know everybody listening to this has for other human beings and go out of your way to just even small things, large things, the whole Bitcoin beach story, like $100,000 went down there and look at the impact that has had in that local community and then the country and then other countries. Like the ripple effect of that action is so profound and so deep. And I would just challenge people to think about the reciprocals that pop out of this, the fractal that spins out of that one action. And we need so much of that during this transition. And the more that the empathy that this community can harness for others is going to be the thing that I think truly makes this, I don't want to say the Ray Dalio phrase because I hate it, but it begins with a B and it ends with leverage. It'll make it more like that. I don't know that you're going to get that, but I think that it's going to bridge that transition a whole lot better.